All right, good afternoon, everyone. This afternoon we have Mr. Gene Theriault. He's going to be speaking to us in regards to his role as a supply chain director, what that role consists of, how he got into that position, the educational route he's taken, any accolades or awards he's received, or any extra training that's necessary. Also, what are some highs and lows, especially with the COVID-19 impact. If y'all have any questions, please feel free to address them in the chat box. Also, please mute your lines, and thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Gene.
All right, thank you, Raquel. So my name is Gene Theriault. I work for Dow Chemical. My official title is Global Director of our Logistics Technology Center, as well as the Director of Global Operations for our site logistics operations. And to define site logistics for you, it's where we would move our product on and off of our site. So that's the basic operation of once we make a final product or we bring a raw material in, we either move it by truck, by rail, by drum, by marine vessel, etc. I've been with Dow for 30 years. I started my career in Plaquemine, Louisiana. From there, I moved to Seadrift, Texas. I spent 5 or so years in Seadrift, and then I moved to Freeport, Texas, and I spent another 4 or 5 years there. And then I've been now in this global role for about 1.5 years. With that, I guess I chose my profession really right out of high school. I went to work for Dow as an operator, so I know there's some questions about entry levels into this field. And yeah, there are entry levels, right? You can start anywhere from loading technicians to operating technicians in a chemical plant, to engineering degrees, to whatever you want to do to get to this role. I took a very unique route in that I went to work right out of high school, and then I came back about 6 or 7 years later, and I ended up with going back to school for a bachelor's degree, and then followed that with a master's degree in management. So when you look at the salaries, they're starting salaries for us, somewhere in the $70,000 range, and then when you move up into global roles, they obviously continue to expand from there. So I will tell you, and my family and I have been very grateful for what Dow and its industry can provide for you. So it's a very lucrative career. I've been very pleased with working for Dow. On a day-to-day basis, we deal a lot with technology and operational issues in this role. I will tell you, there's a supply chain as a whole is a very broad term. Within our company, you can do anything in supply chain, from site logistics, which is handling the product, to actually being what we would refer to as a business planner, where you're planning the production rates for the plants and managing the shipments on and off the sites. So on a day-to-day basis, we have a very broad realm of activity that we can do. My role is mainly from an oversight perspective and making sure that the operation continues to run in a very safe and reliable manner to ship product on and off of our sites. From a job standpoint, and what I get out of my job and what I enjoy most out of my job, I was in manufacturing for the first 14 years of my career, where I ran a manufacturing facility. And then the next 16, I have been in supply chain. And I think I stayed in supply chain because I really enjoy the interaction of the people that I get to work with every day. So I get to work with lots of people on and off the sites, but I also get to work with lots of suppliers and customers and other folks in the industry. And I think that's the part of supply chain that I probably like the most, is the differences of dealing with the different people around the world. From a schooling standpoint, it depends what you want to be. It can be anywhere from a degree in business, a degree in management, a degree in engineering, a degree in supply chain management is another excellent degree, and a degree in industrial engineering. There are many options to get into the industry, and so I wouldn't limit yourself. I think it's wide open as to what is best for an individual, and then you try to fit the job around what you really like to do. I will tell you, after 30 years, it's hard to go to work if you don't like your job, and so there's not been a day in 30 years where I have not liked what I've done. So I think and don't get me wrong, there have been some difficult days, but the job itself has always been fun. From a safety and personal protection equipment, one of our core values at Dow is to keep people safe. That's the most important thing we do. We focus quite a bit on safety. We've just come through this COVID-19 experience, I would call it. Has it changed my job? I think my job, that I can do my job from anywhere in the world. So it really hasn't changed what I do. I can either work from my home office, I can work on the road, I can work in a company office somewhere. So it hasn't really changed what I do, but I think what has changed is that I spent a lot of time on the phone and a lot of time in meetings and a lot of time working with the sites to ensure that we continue to run safely and reliably and get shipments to our customers. So I would tell you, with that, I would be open to taking any questions, Raquel.
Okay, I have one question. Could you explain the importance of rail cars or 18-wheelers? Because sometimes students don't understand how valuable the shipments are, regardless of it's a petrochem industry or just regular logistics. How important is just even being a truck driver or a rail crew or a barge transportation?
Yeah, from an important standpoint, that's really the foundation of what we do, right? So our truck drivers are our guys that move rail cars, or our the folks that run our marine operations. Without those folks, our shipments don't get out the door. I think probably many of you have watched this pandemic take place, and if you watch any of the news at all, you see the news around the truck drivers and how critical that infrastructure is to the supply chains, to making sure that we get the very basic needs of food, right? So I think that's important. So I will tell you again, supply chain is broad, so it goes from one spectrum to the other, and so you can be a truck driver, or you can do what I do for a living, and I think there's importance in all of it.
Yeah, we often hear that shipments is money or cargo is money. So I think high schoolers don't get that connecting of the dots, that the product that is in those containers are a big attribute to our daily lives.
Yes, I will tell you, when you look, for the company I work for, Dow Chemical, when you look at all the basic materials we make, they are essential to human life. There's not very much that we make that people don't use on a day-to-day basis. And while they leave us in huge rail cars and tank trucks and marine vessels, you turn around and you find it in the seats that you sit in, or the bottles that you might drink, your water bottle, your Ziploc bags, a lot of that material we provide.
We do have another question from someone who's logged in. What interpersonal skills have been important during your career growth?
So I think the most important interpersonal skill is respect for people. I will tell you, I've been very successful in our company, but I also believe I have been very successful because I have had some very talented people to work with and work around me. And I've learned a lot from that. And so respect for people, very good leadership. You have to as you want to progress in an organization, you know, your leadership skills are certainly essential. I think that trust, you know, learning how to trust and let people do their jobs, I think that's an important part as well. So I would tell you, you know, respect, trust, leadership are probably the top three for me.
For inclusion, we often hear a child may have a disability, whether it's a physical impairment or otherwise. How easy is it to get into a supply chain role, whether it's moving the shipment or an office setting such as yours?
Yeah, so I will tell you that it's probably extremely easy. Many of the roles, they vary, obviously, and it takes different skill sets, and so it's easy to find a fit for everyone. I don't know if most people realize it, but here recently, the Dow Chemical Company has been named the 22nd most inclusive company in the world. And we continue to make progress there. You know, we moved up by about 20 or so points in that rating, and that's one of our goals. You know, we value diversity and inclusion, and I think without a diverse one, you can't be diverse unless you're inclusive. And so I think we work very hard to make sure that we have an inclusive and diverse workforce, such that we can be very successful. And I think that's what drives our success across our company.
Okay, another question we have is what classes or extracurricular participations would you recommend to a high school students preparing for your type of career?
I will tell you, probably the way I did it is the most difficult way. So I went to work first, and then I went back to school while I was working full time, and you have to be certainly committed at that point. I will tell most everyone, even my own children, that college should be first. It's very helpful to be able to focus on that before you have to go get a full-time job. I think for my career, a lot of the project work, I grew up doing project work, and so I have a Six Sigma certification, and so I know how to do that type of project work. I think management, overall management, some skills in human resources, learning how to deal with different personalities and people. I think obviously that you're not going to be successful in this world unless you can interact and manage and deal with other people.
Okay,
and I will tell you, a math class or two is probably going to help you quite a bit too.
Another question that's asked is, you mentioned that you work globally or with customers and colleagues from different time zones. How flexible does your schedule need to be when you connect with someone who is on another part of the country or another part of the world?
Very flexible. I mean, some days my day will start at 3 o'clock in the morning. Some days it doesn't end till 8 or 9 o'clock at night. But again, it's very flexible, right? So if I start at 3, I might finish early that day. Or if I know I'm going to be late, I may start early that day, later that day. We're very flexible in how we do that, so that we can certainly be respectful to those in different parts of the world.
What about any apprenticeship opportunities that you all may have within the industry?
We do have an apprentice program, and actually right here out of our Cedar site, there are some an apprentice program that runs, and you can go to our Dow.com job announcement system, and I'm absolutely certain that I think you can actually apply there. It's a focus on maintenance type roles and operations type roles, but it's certainly a place to start.
Does anyone else have any further questions for Mr. Theriault at this time? With no further questions, we want to appreciate you all for connecting in. Oh, there is one last question. What about engineering internships or externships?
Absolutely, there are engineering internships. We do have summer interns for engineering, and we do have we do participate in a program with the universities where engineers are allowed to go to school for a semester and work for a semester, and then they rotate through their college career. It does add a little bit to your college career, but it's very beneficial when you come out of college that you have some experience in engineering and in the chemical plant environment. I will tell you, when we hire folks, we actually look for those who have had that experience.
All right, thank you everyone for participating. Thank you, Jean, for being able to share this valid information. We appreciate your time. If there's no further questions, we're going to end the call. If you do come across something that you'd like him to address, please feel free to email me and I'll relay the communication to Jean. Once again, you all stay safe, stay healthy, and have a good afternoon. Thank you again, Jean.
Thank you, Raquel.